Hello and welcome to Happiness Happiness Channel podcast thingy. Morning, Desi.
Hi, Chris. Hello, everyone.
So today's but before we start, if you like our channel, please do subscribe below. Click on the like button. Watch it till the end as well. Be good, even though it might be half an hour or so. I think you find it might be interesting. And one of the other things I'll say here, and tick the bell. But things I would say is that some of the things we talk about, it might sound like we're some kind of like people, some kind of people that can do all these things and like are on our way to some kind of sainthood or something. Some of the things we're talking about are we're totally work in progress too. So they don't, just because we're talking about them doesn't mean we're 100% able to deliver on these things ourselves. We're just like everybody else. We're working our way through these things, but there are topics to consider and topics to maybe think about and apply to your lives if you agree with them. If you don't, then don't do that. But anyway, Desi was imbibing somebody else's discussion material yesterday, and you came up with today's topic: give and take a very human problem, which isn't exactly what you were listening to. So, what was it?
So, yes, I just wanted to add to what you were saying earlier about us being work in progress. We are definitely work in progress, and we are discussing these things. And as we are actually talking about these things, they're clarifying in our heads. So, it's good to have this humble opinion about who we really are, because we are not these gurus that are going to teach you what to do and what not to do to have a happy life. So, what I was doing in this light, because I'm definitely work in progress and I'm a curious person. So, recently I have actually, no, I have known about sound healing for quite some years. And yeah, as much as it was an interesting thing when I learned about it, I didn't really go deep into exploring what it is. And recently, I have been rediverted again to this direction and sound healing. And so yesterday, I had this sound meditation. Maybe I can put the link to this lady's website because she has some free recorded version as well. So I was listening to one of those pre-recorded events, and this one was about abundance. And she obviously there kind of an hour long sessions, but what she said at one point, and I was wide awake to hear it, even though it was quite late in the night, she was talking about us being able to give before we can receive, and not being able, actually being open and being ready to give without expecting to receive anything. We're just giving with an open heart. And the more we give, the more we will receive in return, even though we shouldn't be expecting it. And this is a bit of um, a difficult one to navigate. So it seems like a very, very sharp edge on which you need to learn to traverse. There are these mountain ridges where there is just a little path at the top, and then there's the corners go right like this into an abyss, both
Descending,
sides.
descending to hell.
So you need to. I visualize it like this. So I need to learn how to be constantly focusing on giving without even thinking about receiving. And the minute you start wobbling from this direction, chances are you're going to fall either side. So it's not going to end well. Um, or at
So
least
what?
it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. You will experience difficult times. what she was saying is just be open. And sometimes the reason why we are not open is, and she does this with sound, is that some parts of our energy body is kind of blocked, or um, these signals are not traveling very well, and they're not circulating. Um, and so we have these blockages here and there where we thought that this is how it should be done. This is how we learn to uh, do life. We need to get, do a lot of marketing, push people to give us their money because I don't know. Somehow we've realized we learned from a marketing instructor, marketing person who knows best how to get money, and we're all stressed and all like full on blasting, get, and you don't really give a lot.
Look, the
Well,
thing,
she was saying you need to do the opposite.
the thing is, right, it's a very, very crowded, busy market out there. If you take away, if you go back in marketing, if you had tomatoes to sell, right, the place you go is the market, and the reason you go to the market because everybody knows that at the market you can buy tomatoes, right? So they all end up going. If they want tomatoes, they know where to go, right? They go there. But of course, as as TV became available, and other there was different methods of marketing. So now you don't have to go to the market; you can get the customer to come to you because they're now aware of you and you're not at the market, you're somewhere else, but they know that you're there. And it's just a question of a numbers game. Just blast it out there. Not interested in those people that don't care about tomatoes. You just blast it out there, and some people will be interested in your tomatoes because they like the pictures and they like whatever, and they hear the message and they say, "Oh, they're nice, juicy, tasty tomatoes, like grown on the vine and in these wonderful tropical conditions, and they're going to be juicy." And and they listen to the message, right? And the guy in the market doesn't stand a chance because you stand there, tomatoes, grapefruit. Like it's just one product amongst a few, and the tomato specialist is like getting the cream of the business. And now you've got a situation where you've got social media, and there's so much noise. It's hard to see any wood for the trees. It's like everyone's got tomatoes. Everyone's tomatoes are amazing, right? Oh, well, which tomatoes are the best? Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Or does it? I don't know.
I'm gonna go for the cheaper ones.
Yeah. So you want, yeah. Now it's cheapest and nicest pictures. Like and everyone's shouting, "Buy my tomatoes!" So you're getting clogged up, and you have no idea what to do anymore because there's too much choice. Yeah, people say, "Oh, I want choice." They don't, not really, because choice gives you a problem. You got to decide now. Right. The simplest choice is there. It is. That's it. Oh, okay. And you make the most of it, don't you? If it's one of one, you make the most of it. Two, it's like, ooh, now I've got to make a choice. Five, you're in trouble because it takes you
Yeah.
more time to decide what to do than it does to consume the damn thing because it's just too much choice. Oh, I've got to try all five now to find out which one I like the most, and then I can. If you had choice of one, it's like you like that the most, don't you?
Yeah.
It's only one. Right. So, and that is a derivative of what you're talking about. Is that people have been marketing, you got right because they're trapped in the last this cycle of marketing development, which is the one who shouts loudest gets most. So, how do you become the best at shouting? In fact, end up you're not the best at what you do. You're the best at shouting now. So
That's
you've
right. And it's tiring
oh
for the person who's doing the shouting, but it's not very authentic either. So like you said, they become better at shouting, and they're forgetting about improving and loving what they were
the
doing in
product.
the first place before they started shouting.
Now the other
So,
interesting carry on. Sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
So the other interesting thing is that like um well you need to finish your thing first because I'm taking us in a slightly different direction. So you
Well, what I was thinking about was because you now want to sell what you've got, you want to get the business out of people, you want to sell it. You now need to hire. You need to either hire these people to help you shout and spread the message, which will cost you, or you have to learn how to shout yourself
Mm.
if you don't want to hire anybody. But as you were spending your energy on the shouting, I don't know why we call this shouting,
That's
like
what it is.
grabbing,
It is. It's shout.
shouting, and so you can grab. You're forgetting what your real thing was, where your heart was at the beginning. You know, if you was to make tomatoes, you spend less time growing your tomatoes because you're doing lots of shouting,
Well, the
or you're
analogy, the
spending
analogy.
less time being you, being your own authentic self, because that's the person who loves doing these tomatoes, and you create the most amazing tomatoes. Now you're doing other things, and your original happy place is now diluted and actually completely maybe lost
Well, I mean, it's a very
in the
similar.
shouting.
Imagine the market. So you've gone from you're making the tomatoes. You put the tomatoes on your stall, and what you hire somebody who doesn't make tomatoes. They just like, you want a kilo of tomatoes. It's a kilo of tomatoes. Give us your money, right? You've got those kinds of things going on, right? And you can automate that. That's your shop front, yeah, where people can exchange money for tomatoes. And what you're doing now, instead of going away developing the best tomatoes ever, is you stick an A board over your shoulders and you're out there going, buy my tomatoes, buy my tomatoes. Now, I don't know anybody that likes doing that. Well, I don't know anybody that likes wandering around the street, buy my tomatoes, buy my tomatoes, right? They don't like doing that, but they're doing it because they think that's what, like, forget growing tomatoes now. You're out there just walking around on the street. You don't have to know anything about tomatoes, by the way. Walking around on the street. Now, if you don't want to do that job, you've got to find someone who does. And they don't know anything about tomatoes either. You just bring them in, stick an A board on them. Wonderful tomatoes, buy your tomatoes here. First shop on the right. Yeah, like whatever. And people are like, and they're just, and he's there with
It,
another
yeah.
20 people selling tomatoes with A boards on, going, no, not his tomatoes, my tomatoes. And none of them are growing tomatoes, by the way. The tomato person somewhere else. Or
And it was interesting to have a conversation with somebody the other day about marketing, and I said to them, I am tired of these old models of marketing where people are constantly shouting at you, buy this, or you're going to be less, you're going to be missing out, you're going to be in scarcity if you don't buy my product. It's like threats now. Buy this before the price goes up. Buy this before it runs out, before I change my mind. Buy this because tomorrow it's going to be three times more expensive. And I'm just tired of this.
buy my tomatoes and not get you'll get a heart attack unless you don't buy my tomatoes.
Yeah, so it's like now the shouting is got not loud, but there's also a threat.
Yeah.
If you
But
don't
like,
buy my tomatoes, you're gonna be dead tomorrow.
yeah, heart attack preventing tomatoes. Like, but like the thing is, right, and okay, these are just different evolutions of marketing, but it all starts when we're children, and because we all learn this. And it's like, if you turn around to someone and say give without expecting return, right, they'll look at you as if you stepped off a different planet, right? Because nobody, you don't get, there's a saying, isn't there? There's no such thing as a free lunch. You don't, people don't just give without expecting return. They don't do it in this money centric focused world. People don't do anything for nothing. You don't get anything for nothing. Like, it's just, like, if you go, if like, even like, we'll come on to it later, but even when it comes down to charity, like, and stuff, people are not doing anything for nothing, right? They all want their buck for doing something. And it all starts when we're kids, in my understanding, because what happens is, as a kid, your parents say to you, look, stop making a noise. If you're a good girl or you're a good boy, and you don't make a noise and you don't show us up and you don't embarrass us, then when we get home, you'll get a donut, or you'll get a bag of sweets, or
A treat.
a treat of some description, or we'll do this or we'll do that. So what happens is your reward system starts learning, if you do something for somebody else, you're going to get something back. And it happens when we're tiny, right? And this program gets installed, and it seems to work for us because all we've got to do is like be quiet, and then we get something free. So like he's the first children first experiencing the market, because it's a buy and sell agreement. You know, you buy. You buy the quiet, you get the tomatoes. Like that's what it is really. So it's a buy and sell agreement. The parents are trying to navigate their way through this. They didn't expect it to be this difficult with kids, so they're basically trying to find a way through, and they use this tool. And I did too, you did too, we all have done it. We've all done it. And what we're doing is this program is getting passed along the generations. Like we say, these programs are not hereditary, they're installed because of the environment we're in, and we don't have to stick with them. We can change them anytime we like, but we got to recognize they're there in the first place, not just say, as we've done on the previous, so we just go, oh no, that's just the way I am. No, it isn't. It's not the way you are. It's basically you've been manipulated when you were a child and you didn't spot it because you didn't know what you were looking for, and you're not aware enough. But the program's installed anyway, whether you like it or not. It's like someone sticking a program on your smartphone without you knowing it, right? And it's basically just running away there in the background. I didn't even know that was there. Of course you didn't. You weren't like you didn't know anything about it. So what happens is, as we get older, this becomes very simple. It's like I give and then I take. I give something to you, and then I expect, like classic in a pub. Like you go to a pub and you buy someone a drink, and then they feel this guilt that they have to buy you a drink back, right? Right. Okay. It's more when it's more expensive and people have got less or more money. It becomes complex. But basically, someone comes in a pub, I haven't seen them for ages. They say, "Oh, do you fancy a drink?" And then later on, they feel absolutely, "Oh, I've still got to buy Chris a drink." Well, the pint I bought didn't come with an obligation to buy me one back. It was because I was pleased to see the person, and I was at the bar, and it just the circumstances. Then I said, "Do you fancy a drink?" "Yeah." "Oh, yeah, I'll have what you're drinking." "Okay, fine." And now there's some kind of guilt thing going on with the other person. Could ruin their whole night, by the way. Where they now, I haven't really got the money to buy him a drink back, and this is going on. I haven't really got the money to buy him a drink back, but I feel like I've got to. And now I've put an obligation on that person. That person's feeling grim about it, having a bad night, just because I bought them a drink. Right,
When you actually had a very genuine
yeah, but they didn't ask me. They didn't ask me. "Oh, that's very kind of you. Do you expect one back or what?" No, because they don't know me that well, whatever. And suddenly you're into this complex scenario about, and it's no different in business, right? And I know people who've said to me in the past, "How much should I give for free before I ditch them?" Right?
That's
What a
again the expectation. Like,
what?
how much can I give before I'm expecting a return?
Yeah, expecting them to buy
And
something.
what this lady with the sound healing yesterday was saying, start giving without even thinking about receiving.
Yeah, well, it depends how you give, doesn't it? Because people can give, and in a way that implies that like I'm expecting something back from this. By the way, but if you genuinely give, and it's all about you. If you genuinely give and you don't expect a return, the way you give is different.
Mm.
The way you give is different. It's like, yeah, take that. That's fine. Like be my guest. Like have that. It's like they might ask you some questions about your product or whatever, but if you're fairly experienced, that whether they're just asking because that's like almost like halfway house between I might buy, I might not. So I'm just carrying the conversation on without obligation or without making a decision. It's almost like hoodwinking the person who's, if you're genuine and you give them that experience, you'll just answer the questions and that's the end of it. If you're this little bit of interest, if you're not giving without expecting a return, is picked up as an interest in your product, and then you start to sell.
Mm,
and
and that's how people will know that you're
yeah,
not giving just
without
because you have a good heart.
yeah, and like you'll know, because it's all have happened to you. Whoever's watching this, at some point you will know there is a very, very fine line where people detect you're now in sales mode. It's a really, really, but everybody has got this skill. Everybody. They
Mm-hmm.
think you go into a shop and someone generally says, like, yeah, if you want to know anything about any of the products here, please come and ask me, because I know these products inside out and I'll probably be able to answer your question, but feel free to browse. To the person who comes over and says, with a sales commission head on, says, can I help you? And they follow you around the shop.
Yeah. Well, even the way when you said it, Chris, while you were giving this as an example, I could feel a difference.
Yeah, exactly. Well, of
I
course.
could feel it. You're not selling anything at the moment. You were just explaining, giving
Yeah,
an example.
now they're going to come up to me and they're going to say, I really like the look of this. Can you tell me how this one compares to this one? Because they now know I have the knowledge to be able to do that. And I'll say,
Yeah.
well, this one comes with this and this one doesn't come with that. I'm basically helping them buy, as opposed to trying to sell something. Right? And there's a massive difference between those two statements, right? But if you're coming with a genuine desire to sort of solve someone's problem without any desire for self gratification or like getting something from them, then they'll know. They'll know,
Mm.
because that signal that you're trying to sell something is so powerful in everybody, and as soon as they hear it, they back off. So what could have potentially been a customer is now gone.
Yeah.
And if you give with a genuine desire to just help the other person without anything else, they'll come back, because they feel that you're the only one that's not trying to sell them something, and they like that. Everybody likes it, because everybody wants in their mind to know that they've made the decision, not been sold to, because no
And
one
they
likes.
haven't been pushed and forced to do what they. So you push these kind of marketing shouting people, they'll push you to do it. You will do it, and then a few days later, you will decide that you have been pushed or tricked or um,
You
taken
just
advantage of.
Yeah, you've been
And
gullible.
then you've been gullible. So all of this starts to play in your head, and you say, no, 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 I want a refund. Or I'm going to start spreading bad news about this person because
They took me
they have
for a ride.
they've treated me badly.
It took me for a
They
ride.
tricked me.
One
They
of the
are some kind of liars and tricksters, and you don't want to be dealing with them because they push you. Or you don't hear anything from these people, or kind of because you are ashamed that you've been tricked. You say, "Oh no, no, I don't want to know anything about these people anymore." That's it. You just shut the door.
giving without
And
expecting return it's in everything in life. Everything. Yeah, what you said is, yeah, what you do in one place, you do everywhere, right? If you go networking,
hmm,
right, networking is the classic. I used to do a training on this, right? You go to networking and everybody's there looking for business. If it's a business networking event, everyone's there looking for business. They're not there because they like the other people, or they're not there because they want to share information. Basically, they're there to get business. If you get some information out, then there's an expectation of a meeting. If I give you some kind of freebie like consultation, I'm expecting you to buy more, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch, and everybody's operating on that basis, right? So
hmm,
networking is a classic example, and you can spot them a mile off. People you know, like people will come up to you with their business card, right? And my business card when I used to go networking was just Chris Ogle, a mobile telephone number, and basically my email address, which was a generic email address, Gmail. People used to look at it and say, "There's not much on here, is there?" I said, "No, there's enough."
What's this?
I said, "There's no colour on it, black and white." And there was a space on the back, 3 lines where they could write something if they felt they needed to, right? And so they said, "Well, there's nothing much on here, is there?" I said, "No, there's enough on there to contact me if you want to."
Mm.
That was it. Well, what do you do? And my big thing in networking was to not tell people what I did. It was to try and work out how I could evade it, right? Because I didn't want them. So I just used to say to people, and I was quite complicated actually. I'm in transition, right? That was always a classic. I'm in transition. What do you do? But sometimes I didn't even ask that question because that's just a lazy question. This is a bit of a networking instruction here. But I used to just say to them, "Where have you come from? How long did it take you to get here today?" Just as a question. They say, "Oh, about 20 minutes." I said, "Oh, so did you drive here?" And no, I came on the train. "Ah, okay. What, to Watford High Street or whatever?" "So where did you come from? Well, where do you live?" And they'd say, "Oh, I'm from Harrow or wherever." And you say, "Oh, okay. Have you always lived there?" And they'd say, "No, I've only been there like 5 years." "Oh, where were you before that?" And they'd say, "Oh, I was like and I'd say, "Oh, so why did you move?" And like this is the first time they've heard this, right? But I've been doing this for years, right? So it's easy, it rolls off the tongue. And I'm genuinely interested. I want to know who the person is, not what they do. I'm not interested in what they do. We'll come to that. It's like if someone moves into you next door, if you're in a house and someone moves into the next door house and you see them outside, you don't rush them out there, give them a business card and say, "What do you do?" Do you? If that's the first time you met, you rush out there and say, "Hi, my name's Chris. I've been living here for a few years now. If there's anything that you need or you've got questions about this local area, just ask me. I'm happy to share it with you." That's what you do, isn't it? And then
Being a human, that's the human interaction.
and at some point you might get chatting with them and you say, "Why do you come over for a drink one night?" And then when they come over for a drink that night, you start to talk about what they do, maybe, where do you work or what do you do? Or, that might come out in the conversation. But it wasn't the first thing. It was maybe 3 months down the line, maybe 5 meetings, seeing that person at a business meeting. You might end up getting around to a conversation about what they do when you know a bit about who they are. But it's that way round. So you're giving before you get. You're giving a bit of information about yourself. You're giving so people get to warm
It's
to you.
not that you are giving them something, you're giving your absolute attention and your absolute interest
Yeah,
without pushing yourself down their throat.
you are giving without expecting return, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, you are. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be someone asked me, "Can you help me with Twitter?" Yeah, sure, I can help you with Twitter. Yeah. And I used to say to people, like, I'll meet you at this coffee shop, buy me a coffee and I'll help you with Twitter. Fair exchange, isn't it? Like, it's not a massive amount of thing. And I'm not giving to receive. It's just a bit of courtesy, really. But I'm happy to, otherwise I might pay £100 for that training.
Oh, yeah.
So, they
Well,
get
it's giving your time and giving your energy and your skill without expecting a return. And without feeling that you're being taken for granted or taken advantage of. Because you're just doing it because you want to do it, not because you are.
But being taken advantage of is the same thing as saying, how much do I give for free before I expect a return, right? It's the same thing. So
I haven't cracked it yet, have I?
No, because giving without expecting return, like I couldn't give a monkey.
There's no advantage taking advantage. That's not going to be crossing your head even.
No, I mean, if someone asks me, could you do some Twitter training? Can you do this for me? Can you explain to me something about something? And I say, yeah, okay, I can do that. That's no problem. It's not appropriate to do it here, so I have to do it somewhere else. If we're going to sit in a coffee shop, it's a bit rude to sit in a coffee shop and not have a drink. And if I, like, so just buy me a coffee. It's no big shakes. It's not like life threatening, is it? And it's not going to scare them off. And it's not really anything. I could sit there and drink water if I wanted to. So it's just a bit of courtesy, really. So that's why I used that quite a lot, because it was just basically just, if you're going to get together, it'd be nice to have a cup of tea or something with it. And I haven't really got a place where I can have them. I'd say come round to my place, and we sit down at the table and have a cup of tea or coffee. I don't mind doing that either, but I can't do it at the moment. But it's really, you've got to install that program. I'm going to give freely without expecting a return, and it's very, very difficult. And I don't know hardly anybody that will do it. Everybody at the end of the day wants to get paid. So it's so hard to think someone's going to pay you if you don't ask them, or you don't get this. It's so hard to do this, and I'm speaking from experience. Like somebody who's been working on this for 13 years. 13 years I've been working on it, right? And now I would say I'm pretty much quite happy to give, as long as I feel that person's in a similar, is trying to attain a similar goal. If that person's just greedy and wants to hoard everything and get paid without paying anybody else, like I know this is a problem in the old Eastern Bloc, right? Because I've known hundreds of people. It's like they're quite happy for you to pay them, but they don't want to pay for anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not paying for it. Why should I pay for that? I can learn that myself. It's like, yeah, but if you want to do it now and you want to know how to do it and have the skills to do it, why don't you pay that person? They're paying you, but you don't want to pay them. It's like, that's not a... And it's... So there's lots of different ways to slice this and dice it and cut it. And I'm not saying everybody in the older Eastern Bloc is like that. I'm just saying the ones that
there is this mentality. Yeah, there is this mentality of, oh yeah, I can learn this, I can do this myself, and I can learn this. Oh, I can watch them and I'll learn it. And I still have this a little bit left in me, even though I consider myself a disruptor of patterns.
but the thing is, when you had to, because you had no money, it wasn't a choice, then that's, which is where this is spawned from, then that's obviously that's fine. If you're very good at what you do and you're earning decent money as a result of it, because people appreciate what you do, then spend some of that money to help other people attain that same thing.
Yeah.
Like because you're good at doing what you're doing. In order for you to be good at what they're doing, you've got to learn everything that they've done. So do you want to do that job? Is that what you want to do? Or do you want to do what you're good at and you love doing?
Yeah.
It's like, which is it? Because if it's a question of like, I know I don't want to swap job, I wouldn't want to do that. Well, why are you trying to learn it then?
Yeah, exactly. So then there's the self-love of, I'm good at this and I want to do this instead of that, and I want to focus, but we get distracted and we think this is how it should be done, this is what successful people do, and this is what we need to do, and we forget about ourselves.
And it's important. Like if you've got 7 things, they talk about 7. If you've got 7 things that you like doing, and that person's doing another thing, an 8th thing, you're basically watering down your efforts into doing what you love doing in order to save money on what they're doing. If what you're going to learn contributes and is an additional benefit to everything else you're doing. And I'll talk about learning Adobe products, right? That's useful for you in a whole range of other areas, right? So
Mhm.
maybe that's worth the investment because it's a tool that you can learn in your own time. You don't have to have someone educating you. You can pick up all the information on YouTube and stuff like that. And you can create an extra skill that has tangible benefits across a range of the other things that you'll love doing, which is 3 or 4 different things out of the 7, say. Well, that's worth learning, isn't it? You have
Yeah.
to take a view of that. That's worth learning because it's going to help me in lots of ways and save me time and effort and energy and better allow me to represent what I'm doing. So that's totally acceptable. But you're not sitting there with someone milking them of their knowledge. You're just using the internet, which is an amazing tool, in order to like.
So again, so somebody created this content to give it,
Hmm,
and I am taking it without them even knowing it.
hmm.
Well, I might like it and they will know that I've liked it, or I might subscribe to the channel and they will know that I've done that. And maybe they'll benefit from this in a different ways. But they're giving this for free and without any expectation. They're just creating the content because they love doing it.
Yeah, it's like this, isn't it? Like these podcasts. We're
Yeah,
creating.
like our little conversations here,
Right,
which
and,
last.
and and the bottom line is right that we're both benefiting of it because you're doing some work, finding some things to talk talk about. Excuse me, like you did last night. No, it's very beneficial for you, and then we're having a discussion about it today, which is tapping into my experiences, and but we're both growing as a result of it. And then if anybody else decides that this channel is amazing, right, and there's lots of wisdom going on here, they've got to sit through like some general drivel as well as the nuggets.
No, there is no drivel.
but basically, there's a mine of information here, all in one place, and there's links that we're putting in that you're putting in, but basically to some of the stuff that it's sourced from in terms of the ideas, and that so people might be able to then go to those people and they might benefit from that anyway. So
Mhm.
but this is done because actually the people who are benefiting from this are us. There might be others as well at some point, but like I can't manage their lives for them, and nor can you. So basically, it's just a question of is this helping us doing it? And while it does continue to help us, we'll continue doing it, won't we?
Yeah, well, it's actually really helping us stay on track
Mm.
and not get distracted by all the noise out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Because as I was saying, I was talking to a friend and about the old ways of marketing and the new ways of marketing, and we still seem to be having a lot of travel to still to do. And everybody starts from a different starting place with their understanding about how to do business, obviously. Um, but there is a lot of still, and it did having had these daily discussions is actually helping me to stay on track and not deviate and forget. Oh yeah, well, and kind of go back into the old ways
Like
because my track is not completely solid yet. I'm
the,
still changing it.
the thing is, right, that this is, and we might change the title, right? This is one of the most difficult things for people who are starting up a business to come to terms with, right? And the reason is because let's say you've changed track and you're in a prime example. You've gone from being a primary school teacher with a very steady income, which happens every month, whether like regardless. And now you're in a very different situation where there's no money, and the only money that comes has come from your own efforts. What is that going to do? It's going to make you desperate for money, desperate
Hmm.
for sales. Grabbing any opportunity that comes along, you're almost like grabbing people off the street and buy my stuff, type of
Well,
stuff.
I used to do this.
So I know,
I used to do this with
my
these
God,
oils.
I know, but what I'm saying is that it's understandable, isn't it? When you've got the pressure of
Yeah.
bills, the pressure of buying food, and when prices are going up, it's understandable that people are in this space when they're starting out a new business. And like you
Hmm.
can't, like it's just like no amount of money is enough money when you're in that state, because like you've got all this stuff you want to buy, you've got to have this education, someone comes along and that you like their stuff and you want to buy it but you can't afford it, like and
Yeah.
oh, where's the silver bullet, where's the silver bullet, like
Oh, you're talking about me.
yeah. No, I'm talking about loads of people, right? I'm talking
Yeah.
about 150, 200, 300 people I've met in the past, all who went to Link for Growth. They're all in this space. They're all
Mm.
there. And like, and do you know what? I've been there. I'm not talking because I have never had it. Of course I've had it. I went from a job earning 60,000, like this is like 30 years ago, 60,000, like a month or whatever, down to 8,000. Like, I got no money. I can't even, back with my mum and dad. How can I pay them some rent, right, for my food? Like my mum was, very charitable. Obviously, she's my mum. She said, I don't want a lot. I just want something. I want something. And then when you earn a bit more, you give me more. Like she was very, very kind because, mums are like that. But wow, like, I know what it's like. But like this comes from our programming. I've had all this stuff, and now I haven't got all that stuff, and it's painful. Yeah, it is. Like it's painful to start again. It's painful to have nothing. It's painful to have to, like, almost beg for your food and stuff. It's painful. But like the Buddha wandered around with a bowl, and he said, all I've got is my begging bowl, but I'm the richest man in the world. Yeah, because he didn't have any baggage, did he? He didn't have any rubbish. Just where's my next meal coming from? And he could go and help somebody out, and he'd get a meal, and no other worries in the world, right? I think people might even consider exchanging their life like that they've got for that one.
Right. So, yeah, I wonder how you guys who are watching this perceive the idea of giving without expecting. And in order for you to actually start receiving anything, to have given a lot.
Can I just
without any
one more thing, which comes back to the 80-20 rule that we discussed about, right? 20% of the people that you meet will end up buying something. 20% will end up buying something. There's no question about that. And that 20%, there'll be varying levels, all right? There'll be people who can't afford it, but just have to have it, and they'll pay you a little bit. And then you'll get people who can afford the price you ask, and there'll be people who just wax lyrical about you, and they can even pay you more than you asked, right? And that's that group of people, right? Together, they will provide you with enough money to be able to do what you want. The rest, the 80%, you give away your time for free.
Yeah, the 80-20, which we talked about in
the other day. Yeah.
So basically,
you're basically giving away most of the time. Like the reason for having, like what did they say? They said there's the reason for being alive is like the first one is to basically you build up your knowledge and your skills, and the second thing is why did you do that?
To give it away.
To give it away. To give it away, because in giving it away you're going to receive back as well some things that people appreciate and everything else, and you're just going to be able to live in harmony, which we'll come on to tomorrow, with everything around you. It's not by hoarding stuff, by having more than you need. It's by living in harmony, having stuff, having knowledge, being useful, giving back, getting back, but just allowing it, because it's miracle. It works.
It doesn't happen easily because maybe people have needs that haven't been met in any other way. But that's a topic for another conversation, because we're gonna go well over time.
Right.
If you started this topic.
Bye everyone. Bye everyone.
Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and see you on another episode tomorrow.
Bye for now.
Bye.